Wow. What does one say when so many people have said such wonderful things about one? Where does one start? Let me start where I should start. Program Directors, Justice Mhlantla and Justice Chikri, His Excellency President Motlanthe and Mrs. Motlanthe, Deputy Chief Justice Maya, Chief Justice Designate, the Deputy Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa, former Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa, Justice Mahweng Mnganwam, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Ms. Mtsweni Tsipane, Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Minister Similane, Deputy Minister Nel, Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Justices of the Constitutional Court present here, President of the Supreme Court of Appeal, Justice Mulimela, Judges President of the various divisions of the High Court and Specialist Courts, I should have mentioned earlier, the retired justices of the Constitutional Court who are present here, heads of Chapter 9 institutions, regional court presidents and chief magistrates present, the Secretary General of the Office of the Chief Justice, and heads of departments and directors general who are with us this evening, as well as other senior officials, representatives of the legal profession present, members of the bar, members of the attorneys profession, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Let me start, before I forget, with the most important task of thanking the people who have organized this function, this beautiful function. It's a committee of the Justices of the Constitutional Court, chaired by Justice Mhlantla, and assisted by the Secretary General of the Office of the Chief Justice and her team, and guided by the Deputy Chief Justice. Those are the people who have organized this wonderful function. I thought that it's important that I start with them. Thank you, Zunaid Naidu, for playing You Raise Me Up as I was coming to the podium. You Raise Me Up is one of my favorite songs, and I believe it is fitting to play it this evening, because for me, this evening is a special evening that fills me with, on the one hand, joy and excitement, but also with some sadness, because I'm leaving friends and colleagues behind with whom I've worked very well. It fills me with joy and excitement because I cannot believe that I'm now reaching the finishing line in this journey of 27 years. You raise me up is also fitting because for me, the song is about how one benefits from the support of others. The lyrics say, when I'm down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. Then suddenly it says, you raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I'm on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. In my long journey of 27 years on the bench, there have been times when I was down and weary, and troubles came, and my heart was burdened. And somebody came and raised me up so high that I could stand on the mountains and saw and could see what lay beyond the mountains. Raised me up so that I could walk on stormy seas. Indeed, over the 27 years, there have been many people on whose shoulders I stood and felt strong. Some are here this evening. Others could not be with us, but they are alive. Others have passed on. I see this evening's function as affording me an opportunity to look back at my journey, the mountains I have had to climb, the valleys to which I have descended from high mountains, as well as the thick black forests through which I've had to walk, the storms I've had to go through, and of course, the sunny days I've had, which can only be compared to the sunny days of my home city, Durban. This evening's function gives me an opportunity to express my gratitude and appreciation to all those who played a role to ensure that I climbed the mountains successfully. Those who made sure that I crossed the crocodile-infested rivers successfully. Indeed, those who made sure that wherever I fell, I would be able to stand up again, and they urged me on and told me that I was good enough to handle whatever challenges came my way. Tonight, I want to take my hat off to all of them, for they have played a very significant role in my life. I pay tribute to all of them because I acknowledge that I have not achieved all the success I've achieved on my own. Yes, I had to work hard, but sometimes hard work does not give you all the successes that you should have if you have no one supporting you. In acknowledging and thanking those who have supported me, I would like to begin with my late mother. I can never thank her enough for drumming into our heads as her children that education is very important. and for making the sacrifices that she made so that we could get education. In particular, I thank her this evening for sending me to St. Mary's Seminary, a boys-only boarding school, a Catholic boys-only school, where I met Father John Boma, who was the first person to tell me about a bursary, and who gave me the address of what was called then the African Bursary Fund, and asked me to apply to that fund for a bursary. Father John Boma was the principal of the school. He was a priest. He taught us Latin. I passed all subjects very well in his class, but I passed Latin much more than the others. And I think to some extent he liked me for that, because every teacher likes a student who passes their subject well. But he had not asked me anything before he offered me the address of the African Bursary Fund. He just said I must take this address and apply there for a bursary. And I can only say that he must have noticed that I was from a poor family, but I was doing quite well. And that helped me a lot, because I applied to that fund and was granted the bursary, which helped me through up to matric. And then I got to know about the South African Council of Churches, and that fund said I should apply to the South African Council of Churches if I wanted to go to university, because they didn't fund or provide bursaries beyond matric. And I did that. So, apart from my mother, Father John Boma is another person that I would like to pay tribute to tonight for the role he played in my life, for that decision that he made to give me that bursary, that address. But Father John Boma was not to stop there in helping me. You all know of Mr. Bucks, who helped me so that I could go to university. He is late now. He died during COVID. A very good man who didn't take my address, who didn't ask for my ID, who didn't ask me to sign anything before he granted me assistance. He and his family remain very special to me. His wife and his children could not be here this evening, but his grandson is here with his wife. Fired, if you haven't left, please stand up where you are. Thank you very much, Fayat, and thank you for making time to come and be with us. Thank you very much. He represents the family. But Father John Boma did not end there with helping me. When I was supposed to go to university and didn't have the registration fee that was going to be required before I could be registered, because bursaries would come later, and I knew that I was likely to get a bursary from the South African Council of Churches. I went to Father John Boma to say, I need to get to the University of Zululand, but I don't have the registration fee. It was about 300 rand at the time. And he said to me, but you know that I don't get a salary as a priest. So where do I get money from? And I said, well, Father, please try something. And ultimately he gave me 300 rand. But before he gave me, he asked me, this is not my money, so how are you going to repay it? I said, well, when the bursary comes, I'll pay you. And then he says, if you don't get the bursary, and I said, then I will leave school and go and work and pay you. That was our conversation. And then he took me in his yellow Mazda from High Flats, Oikopo, to Marion Hill, on my way to the Durban station in Durban, where I would catch a train which used to be called 10 by 10 or 1010. Those who studied at the University of Zululand will remember the 1010. So it used to leave at 10 past 10 in the evening and arrive in Zululand at about 5 a.m. So that's how I got to Durban and caught that train to get to university. So on this day, I want to pay tribute to him. He's still alive. He's in Zambia. I think he's approaching his 90s now. He helped me quite a lot. Tonight also gives me an opportunity to express my thanks and appreciation for the assistance that Mrs. Victoria Mhlenge gave me. But more than anything, what she gave me when I started articles with her, and Upungane has already spoken about the fact that I got articles with Ms. Mhlenge. Upungane is Justice Matlanga. When she took me for articles, she told me that she took me even though they didn't have a vacancy, but that was simply because I had been harassing her, phoning her every week to try and get articles. But she gave me, as it was said earlier on, a big office and a secretary, and said, I want you to open a labor law department for this firm. We have got the work, but we don't know labor law. At that time, labor law was new. It was pioneers like Justice Edwin Cameron, who were people who really knew labor law at the time. I think he had already written a book, if I'm not mistaken. So he said, we don't know labor law, so you will have to make sure that you are in touch with attorneys and advocates who know labor law. Ask them, because when you bring pleadings to us, we will sign something we don't know. You have to protect us by making sure that you have spoken to people who know this thing. And then I can buy whatever books so that this department can flourish. That act on her part gave me a lot of self-confidence. And I believe that it is that self-confidence that subsequently played a very big role in shaping me to be the lawyer that I later became. And for that reason, I remain truly grateful to Victoria Mhlenge. I have representatives of the Mhlenge family here tonight, and I'm very grateful that the Mhlenge family is represented. Would you please stand up so they can see you? thank you for coming, and thank you for coming to share this occasion with us. So when I look back at my journey of 27 years, I see those people who came to my assistance when I needed assistance. And some, like Mr. Bugs, who didn't know me at all, who just listened to my story and said, okay, I will assist. I see those people when I look back at my journey of 27 years. And say they contributed to me being where I am today. When I was down and my soul so weary, when troubles came and my heart was burdened, when I was still and waited in silence, they came and sat a while with me. They raised me up so I could stand on mountains. They raised me up to allow me to walk on stormy seas. I felt strong when I was on their shoulders. They raised me up so that I could be much more than I can be. I'm grateful to them. Indeed, this journey of 27 years was not smooth. There were mountains to climb, and there were valleys to which I descended. There were storms that I had to contend with. But as I say, there were sunny days that I enjoyed. I was very lucky that within 2 years or 3 years of my appointment as a judge of the labor court, I was approached by COSATU, who asked me whether, if a vacancy for Judge President of the Labor Court and Labor Appeal Court were to arise, I would be prepared to make myself available, because they would like me to make myself available. That was completely unexpected to me at that time. And it was a time when there was no vacancy in the office of the Judge President of the Labor Court. But I was subsequently to think that they knew something that I didn't know, because subsequently there was a vacancy. I agreed to be nominated after reflecting on the matter, and subsequently was appointed first acting Judge President and later Judge President of the Labor Court and Labor Appeal Court. I thank COSATU for having identified me so early in my judicial career, for them to have thought that I could head an appeal court and the labor court at that time. And of course, when I started, there were challenges in the Labour Appeal Court because some of the judges had been appointed to other courts, some of the judges had resigned. I remember that they had come down from 6 to 2 or to 3. But on my second day as acting judge president, either on the 1st or 2nd of August 1999, I got a call in the morning from one of the judges who asked me whether I had received his letter of resignation, which meant that there were 2 judges left of the permanent judges. Then I was the 3rd. So we could not initially have filled a quorum, but then with my appointment we could. With the support of judges that we worked with, we were able to rebuild the Labour Appeal Court. And ultimately, it had a reasonable number of judges and was able to execute its functions. And when I talk about that era, I want to thank the retired Judge President Wepe, who was one of the senior judges president, for all the support that they gave this young JP, that was me, at that time, in order for me to be able to lead this cause. Thank you very much, JP. It was indeed an honor to have been given the opportunity to lead those 2 courts. I believe that together with the colleagues that we were with in the Labour Appeal Court and Labour Court, we did a reasonable job. I was expecting Judge Dennis Davis to be here, but I haven't seen him. He was one of the judges that frequented the Labour Appeal Court to assist during my time. And we worked very well with him and others who were there. I said there were mountains to climb, but sometimes there were valleys to which one descended. Retired Chief Justice Mogoeng referred to the time when in 2009 we were both candidates for positions in the Constitutional Court when there had been 4 Constitutional Court justices who had retired. He has told you that I didn't make it, and I had hoped at that time, because I was nearing the end of my term of office as JP of the Labour Appeal Court and Labour Court, to then get appointed to a higher court. So that didn't happen. Then in 2010, I hoped that I would be appointed to the Supreme Court of Appeal because there were vacancies there. We had interviews in October, but I also didn't make it. So I was forced, after I didn't make it, to also, I was nominated for appointment or reappointment as Judge President of the Labour Appeal Court, because I was hoping that I would leave the Labour Appeal Court to go to a higher court. But that was not to be, because when I had accepted nomination for reappointment as the Judge President of the Labour Appeal Court, somebody whispered to me that there were very powerful forces who were planning to make sure that I was not reappointed. And I knew that those were very powerful forces indeed, and I stood no chance, so I withdrew my nomination. With that, I had to go back to the Pretoria High Court as a normal judge, which was effectively a demotion after having been judge president for 10 years. I'm simply mentioning this to say, nobody must look at this function and look where I am and think that it was all easy. It was not. There were challenges. I'm very grateful to Judge President Ngwepe, who welcomed me with warm hands in his division and treated me very well. I had decided at that time that with not having been successful when I was a candidate for the Concord, with not having been successful when I was a candidate for the Supreme Court of Appeal, and not having been able to be reappointed as judge president because of some forces, I wasn't going to apply for promotion for a long time. I decided that I would focus on the work of the High Court and forget about applying for promotion for a long time. I remember that at that time I was thinking minimum 5 years. But then it was just after a year that I'd been in the High Court that there was a new Chief Justice, Chief Justice Mogoeng, who approached me and asked me to act in the Constitutional Court. And he was right. I was completely surprised that he asked me. And of course, I agreed and acted in the Constitutional Court, and later on made myself available and was appointed. So, whatever journey you are on, do not think that things will always be sweet. There will always be challenges. There will always be disappointments. But begazela, nyamezela, persevere. Remember my name, nyamezela, kuzolunga. Of course, greater challenges lay ahead of me when I was chairperson of the commission. Much has been said about that. I don't want to say much, but I do want to say I will eternally be grateful for the support that I received together with those who were in the commission with me, the support we received from the general public of South Africa through very difficult times. That support kept us going, even when it was very dark. Because wherever I went, I always met people who said, "Thank you for the job you are doing for the country." And that, for me, was such a motivation that we could not let the people of South Africa down. But I want also to thank President Ramaphosa that during that time, his support for the Commission was very strong. And he did whatever was necessary to make sure that the Commission continued its work, even when there were challenges. When National Treasury told us there was no money, I would go to him and he would find a way of making sure that National Treasury released money to support the work so that we finish. There was a time when evidence leaders and investigators went without pay for not less than 3 months. And one of the things that really kept me going also was the commitment of those evidence leaders and those investigators, because during that time, many of them said to me, we will not abandon this commission no matter what. And they continued in circumstances where many might have left. And if they left, it would have been understandable because they needed money. They could not work for nothing. But they stayed with me until money was there, and they continued with work with the same commitment. So I just want to acknowledge their dedication on this special day. So when I get all the compliments and praises about the work of the Commission, I always mention, or I often mention, that it was not the job of one person. There were so many people who were behind the scenes who made sure that the work of the Commission was successful. So I thank them today. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the heads of court who have supported me during my term of office as Chief Justice, with whom we have tackled critical issues, and throughout they gave me support. Heads of court, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the cooperation that we have had with the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Development, or Ministry of Justice and Correctional Services, before the name was changed. We worked very well with the ministry, and although there are certain issues that remain unresolved, although there are certain issues on which we are critical of them, on the whole, we worked very well. Thank you. And I have no doubt that with the new minister too, the new Chief Justice will work very well. Thank you. Let me come to my colleagues on the Constitutional Court. Colleagues, you have been wonderful. We have worked very well together. We know we disagree on judgments, and we disagree vigorously, but nobody ever thinks it's personal. And we all know that it's the nature of our job. And ultimately, we worked very well during my term of office. I enjoyed your support. I enjoyed your confidence. I hope that the presents you have given me are evidence that you feel that I led you well. Without you, I would not have been able to make the progress, limited though it may be, that we made in regard to trying to get the court to work better. But we dealt with issues together, we confronted the problems, we came up with solutions. Justice Madlanga already mentioned some of the solutions that we have identified as the solutions to some of the problems. So even though they have not been implemented, because before they can be implemented, certain steps still need to be done, including legislative steps, including the hiring of senior lawyers to help us, all of which requires the executive minister. At least we know, as far as we are concerned, the solutions we have identified are the right solutions. All that is left is that they be implemented. Let me touch briefly on the issue of institutional independence. It was one of the issues that I said in my interview for Chief Justice that I wanted to move forward with speed. It was the one issue on which I had hoped to make a lot of progress before I retired. As Justice Madlanga said, I appointed a committee under the chairpersonship of retired Judge President Ngwephe to look into the response that had been given to us by the executive after 10 years and to make recommendations to us, which they did, and we have shared that report with the executive. Unfortunately, only one meeting has taken place, and other meetings that I tried to get were not successful. Letters that I've written to try and push have not been responded. And it's not this minister. And it's not his predecessor either. So I'm hoping, I've accepted that nothing is going to happen before I leave. But I'm hoping that when I've left, maybe progress will be made. It is going to be up to the judiciary to decide what to do about this issue. I have emphasized before that we wanted to reach a settlement through negotiations. But of course, negotiations can't take place if there are no meetings. Other judiciaries on the continent have had to take certain steps in order to force the executives in their countries. They've gone to court. It would be a pity if the judiciary of South Africa is forced into that situation. but it is up to the judiciary to decide. But I know from the conference that we held in December last year, a judges' conference, that a significant number of members of the judiciary are running out of patience. I had no doubt at that conference hall when this issue was discussed that some members were falling short of accusing the leadership of being too soft on the executive. So the new Chief Justice will continue to pursue that matter with the support of all the heads of court. Yes, in 2 weeks' time, I will retire. And I'm looking forward to it. A little sad about leaving my colleagues, but I'm looking forward to it. I've, over the years, given it my all. I've done my best to serve wherever I've been given an opportunity and to serve to the best of my ability. Sometimes the conditions were such that my best might not seem good enough. But that's simply because objectively, sometimes the conditions do not permit. Let me take this opportunity to thank my wife and children for the support they have given me over many years. Because of being away from home and of the nature of the work I do, my wife was forced to be the one playing a greater role in raising them, because most of the time I was not home. But I think she did a very good job. I would like them to stand up, please, so that they can be seen. Please stand up. The Zondos from Chiang. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bataban, for your support as well. Thank you for even understanding why your movements had to be restricted the way they were during the July unrest. Thank you for understanding why you had to be affected by something that you had no hand in. Thank you, Mamtembo, again, for all your support. I am going to make sure that at least for the first 12 months, I stay away from any serious work. No, actually, I will stay away from work. Yeah. But lastly, but most importantly, I want to thank each and every one of you for having honored me by coming to this function. Each and every one of you fills me with joy when I see you here. Some of you might not know, but there's a reason why you were invited. And there are some whom I have not mentioned here by name, because I know they wouldn't like to be mentioned, who have given me extraordinary support during the 27 years, during difficult times. Thank you very much to all of you. They would feel embarrassed if I mentioned their name. But thank you very much.
There you have it, outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo delivering his farewell speech there, thanking a number of people as he speaks about a special evening that fills him with joy and excitement, but also on the other end, some sadness, leaving friends and colleagues he's worked with behind, speaking about a long journey of 27 years on the bench and the times that they were weary, making reference to You Raise Me Up by Josh Groban there, saying that the journey of 27 years was not smooth. There were mountains to climb. There were sometimes valleys to which one descended, storms he had to contend with, and there were sunny days that he enjoyed, speaking in great depth about the role, the instrumental role various people have played in his life. His mother, speaking about Father John Boma, the Griffiths and Victoria Mqenge, who gave him his first articles, and really just expressing gratitude to his children, his wife, speaking about President Cyril Ramaphosa, saying that he is one who did whatever it took to ensure that the State Capture Commission of Inquiry continues, irrespective of National Treasury not having money at the time, thanking his team, thanking the evidence leaders, the investigators who stayed the course, even going for 3 months without pay. Also making reference to COSATU, that the union identifying him so early in his career, in his judicial career, that he would now head the Labour and Appeals Court at the time. So some of the highlights coming out of that speech.